Let's take a look at a problem together that you should know for the AP Calc exam. Typically, the concepts that are covered in this problem will make up between 9 and 13% of the actual AP exam. If you want to try the problem on your own first, feel free to pause the video now and go ahead and do so. Otherwise, let's go ahead and do it together. The graph of the decreasing differentiable function is shown below. Also shown is the line tangent to the graph of f at the point 4, 6. Let g be the inverse of f. Which of the following statements about g prime is true? Alright, so the tangent line is this line over here, and the point of tangency is this point right here at 4, 6. It might be helpful to write it in this function notation where we have g of x is equal to f inverse of x. Another important thing is if this point 4, 6 is on the graph of f, we can also go ahead and write this in function notation and say f of 4 is going to be equal to 6. This is another way of writing it, but in function notation. Now from that, if we know that g is the inverse of f, what else can we say in function notation? Well, if it's the inverse, then by definition we can say that g of 6 is going to be equal to 4. So this is another thing that we can know right away from knowing that these are inverses of each other. And so this is just one of those properties of inverses that you want to know. If f of 4 is equal to 6 and g of x is the inverse of f of x, then g of 6 must be equal to 4. Alright, so that's just some background information that we can tell based on the given information. Let's go ahead and see if we can figure out which of the following statements is actually true about this g prime. Now let's go ahead and start by writing down something we know about functions in general. If we take f of f inverse of x, if they're inverses, we're always going to get x. In this particular problem, f inverse of x is defined as g of x, so let's go ahead and make a substitution and say that f of g of x is equal to x. Now let's see, if we go ahead and take the derivative of both sides of the equation, let's see what we're going to get here. On the left side here, we have a composition function, so we're going to go ahead and have to use the chain rule. So if we go ahead and do that, this is going to be f prime of g of x. That's the derivative of the outside function. But then we're going to have to go ahead and multiply this by the derivative of the inside function. And so the derivative of g of x is going to be g prime of x. Now what about the other side of the equation? If we go ahead and take the derivative of x, that's just going to be equal to 1. Alright, so let's remember what we're being asked here. We're being asked about this g prime. Notice how each of these answer choices has g prime of an x value. So let's see if we can get this g prime of x alone here. Let's go ahead and divide both sides by this f prime of g of x so we can get it to the right side of the equation. And if we do that, we're going to get this equation right here. We got this g prime of x alone, which is great because look, we have all these g prime of an x value over in our answer choices. Let's see, we have g of 6 is equal to 4, so let's go ahead and plug in this value of 6 in for x in each of these locations. Alright, plugging in 6 in for x, this is the equation that we're going to get. And let's see here, we have this g prime of 6, which actually matches c and d. So those are the two answer choices we're going to look at first here. And what about this g of 6? Well, we know g of 6 is equal to 4, so let's go ahead and substitute that in. If we go ahead and plug in 4 in for g of 6, this is going to be 1 over f prime of 4. Let's go ahead and plug in this 4 in. So what do we do about this f prime of 4? Well, keep in mind, what is this really asking us? It's asking us what is the derivative of our function of f when x is equal to 4. So if we go ahead and look at this point where x is equal to 4 on our graph, we're being asked what is the derivative at this point, and that's going to be slope of the tangent line. So let's go ahead and find 2 points along the graph here. Let's go ahead and see. We have one point here already located at 4, 6. But let's find another point. Let's see. This one is over here. It's pretty nice. So let's see. We have a rise of -3 here. It looks like we have a run of +4, right? So our slope at this point of this tangent line is going to be -3/4. So I think it's fair to say that the slope of the function f at this point of x equals 4, or the x value of 4, is going to be equal to -3/4. This right here is the slope of the tangent line when x is equal to 4. So now that we know this f prime of 4 is equal to -3/4, let's go ahead and just plug in -3/4 in for that. So if we go ahead and plug it in, it's going to be 1 divided by this negative 3/4. I'm just going ahead and write it like this for now. 1 divided by negative 3/4. And then if you divide by fraction, just multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to get, this is going to be negative 4/3. And so kind of writing this just a little bit more cleanly, we can say that g prime of this 6 is going to be equal to negative 4/3. And so another way to think about this is the slope of the tangent line of function g when x is equal to 6 is going to be negative 4/3. And so based on that, it looks like we should go with answer choice C. That'll be our answer.